today I'm going to be assembling PTFE lines. Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to my channel for another video. If you are new here, welcome. I'm Aisha and you've actually landed on my channel in the middle of my project of redoing my entire fuel system. So if you haven't seen any of the other videos, make sure you go and check those out to get up to speed on where we're at here today. Also make sure that you hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you get notified when I post future videos. All right, so today I'm going to be assembling PTFE lines. So don't laugh, but I'm going to try to pronounce what PTFE actually stands for. The word is polytetrafluoroethylene. Yeah. For those of us that are not chemical experts, PTFE is basically the same thing as Teflon, and Teflon is the brand name of the specific material. And many of us may know Teflon tape. PTFE hose is basically made out of that material. The PTFE inner is covered with a steel braiding, and then some are actually covered with a nylon braiding on the outer part. So PTFE hose is resistant to ethanols and methanols and even other fluids like oils and transmission fluid and power steering fluid, brake fluid, and even coolant. The PTFE hose have a specific set of fittings that you have to use with the hose. You cannot use regular AN fittings, and the assembly is also different, which I will get to that a little later in this video. So before I start assembling the PTFE hose with the fittings, I actually have to get the old lines out of the car first. So let's get right into doing that. So now, because I'm going to be running brand new PTFE lines, I have to remove the old hard lines. I'm doing that because I want to run the PTFE inside of this protective casing that goes all the way down to the front of the car. So task number one, get this plastic covering off. The bad thing is this plastic covering is so old and brittle that I'm actually afraid that it's gonna break. Sad, but I think that's exactly what's gonna happen. I seriously cannot believe that I was able to get these out all in one piece without them breaking. Like, that's like a miracle. I mean, this car is a 97, so this type of plastic, you start pulling on it and it cracks and breaks easily. All of these clips are still intact. None of them are broken. I'm super stoked about that. So I will be able to run the lines through here and have them be covered so that when I'm driving, if I run over something or, you know, something gets under the car, it's not gonna be against the fuel lines. This is what it looks like under the car. So this is the front. My hands are like super dirty. I didn't even put on gloves. I didn't think it would be that dirty. I'm just gonna have to pick out and pull out the gas lines. This is the return line, this is the feed line. So I'm gonna have to take these fittings off so that I can pull the lines down. Lines are branched here and I'm just gonna pick them out one by one. Two of these are brake lines and this is one that is coming out. This is another one that's coming out and this one is another one that's coming out. And once I get the three out, there will only be two left and those two are the brake lines. are out. No more lines down there. So much space for activities.
So many aerobics in here. So many activities.
2 lines left, which are the rear brake lines. So now I just have to run the new lines along there to the back of the car. Then I can put back up these plastic pieces to cover the new fuel lines. So this is the 6AN hose that I'm going to be using. There is the part number in case you're wondering. And this is a 20-foot long roll. I'm also going to be using 8AN hose for a short piece off of the fuel cell. And there's that part number. This is just a 5-foot long roll. This is basically going to be coming off of the fuel cell and going to the fuel filter. So I don't really need a lot. After that, then I'm going to be using the 6AN hose. This is the hose here. This is what the inside of the hose looks like. There is a white lining in there. That is the PTFE hose inside there. It's basically like a hard plastic. Even though it's kind of hard, it's still flexible. Something else that's pretty interesting about the PTFE hose is the outer diameter is significantly smaller than your regular AN hose. For reference, this is a 6AN PTFE and this is a 6AN regular steel braided hose. Look at that size difference. But the inner diameter is the same size. If you end up getting PTFE hose, don't get scared that it looks smaller. Alright, so I wanted to show you guys the difference between the PTFE fitting and a regular AN fitting. So this is a regular AN fitting, this is the PTFE on this side. If you guys don't know how to put together AN hose ends, I actually have a video on my tuck radiator and I go over how to install the AN fittings onto AN hose. Your standard AN fitting, when you take it apart, this is what it looks like. You put this end on the hose and then insert this and tighten. With the PTFE fitting, when you take this part off, there's an extra piece inside here that's called an olive. This olive acts like a crush washer basically, and when you install this with this, it crushes onto the hose. And if you are going to take fittings off of the hose and say reinstall them, you would have to get one of these olives every single time that you want to reuse these hose ends. Alright, so let me show you how to actually install the PTFE fitting onto the hose. Alright, so this hose end that I'm going to be installing here today is the hose end that goes directly onto the fuel rail, and this line is basically going to run all the way from the fuel rail to the back of the car. So I'm going to install this onto the one end, and then I'm going to feed this entire hose under the car to the back before I cut it, because I don't know exactly the length that I'm gonna use. I won't know until I actually run it under the car. Then I will cut it and be able to install the other hose end on the other end. So what we're gonna do here first is unscrew this fitting. We're going to put this end on the hose first. So now this part of the hose end is on there, and now what we're going to do is install the olive. If you look closely at the olive, it is tapered, and the smaller end here is what's going to go over the hose in this direction. So this olive actually has to go inside of the outer braiding layer, and it has to go around just the PTFE inner lining. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna separate the outer layer from the inner. You don't want to poke too hard here because you don't want to destroy the hose. Alright, so now I have it separated here. So now I'm gonna try to get this olive on here. You have to be very careful here because this has little steel bits in it and it could poke your fingers. There's like a rim inside there. You want to get it all the way up there. I'm actually going to tap it. And you want to also make sure that it's going on evenly and not like crooked at an angle. And as you can see, mine is going on crooked. Go figure. I'm gonna try to use the hammer as a surface here instead of destroying my nice wood countertop here. One side is actually up there at the top, so now I just kind of have to even it out and then we can move on to the next step. Alright, so I think it is on there pretty straight, and the white inner lining is to the top of this rim on the inside. Now we're going to install the next piece. One thing to point out, when this inner lining is coming up, the goal is to get it up there so that this piece can slide in there. So when you are putting it up, you want to make sure that it's not getting pinched or crushed. You want to make sure that it is still round on the inside. To make it a little easier to get this piece inside here, I'm going to just spray the end of this with a little bit of silicone spray. Alright, so now we push this in here. And you can see that it is completely in now. So now what we do is pull this part of the fitting back up here and get it over there, and then we start tightening it on here. Alright, let me get my wrenches. Alright, so I have my wrenches here. Yes, this is electrical tape that I have around here. I did that because I don't want them to scratch the fittings. We're getting close. It's like a little bit more to go. So the goal is basically to get this top part of the fitting to meet the bottom part here so that there's no gap in between here. And once you have fully tightened these two together, then that's it. And there you have it. A PTFE fitting installed. Now I have many more to go. As you guys can see, in this box is just loaded with a bunch of PTFE fittings for the entire fuel system. So now to run this new PTFE hose, I'm starting off with this connection here on the fuel rail. So I'm gonna run this line under the car all the way to the back and then figure out how long I need it, and then I'll cut it, and then I will move on to the other lines. So I push the line through down there where the stock lines usually are, and then it comes out under here. So now I can basically just pull it through. Alright, so I'm gonna end the video here today. We got the old fuel lines removed. We assembled a PTFE hose and fitting. Thank you all for watching this video. I really hope that it was helpful. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you had any questions or feedback, leave that in a comment down below. Stay tuned for the next video in this project, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.
But